And we can download it, yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, all. I'm Joshua Tell. I'm director of the School of Data Science. We're excited for you all to be here. We're going to be talking about a variety of different capstone options for students in the Health Informatics and Analytics program and Data Science and Business Analytics program. I'm going to let my colleagues introduce themselves in a minute, but let me just kind of first say it's never too early to start this conversation. So for those of you who are looking at summer internships or fall, that's fine. For those of you who may be looking beyond that, it's great because it just gets you kind of thinking and in the right headspace in terms of some of the options that you're going to have as students in the program. So with that, I'm going to let my colleagues introduce. Carly, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then Mirsad?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Carly Mahidi, Director of Student Services, and I will be manning the chat. So feel free as we go to ask any questions there, and we'll certainly leave time at the end for questions.
Mirsad Hadzikarik. I'm the Graduate Program Director for the Data Science and Business Analytics Master's Program, and I also teach complex systems, applied machine learning, network science, sometimes databases, so whatever is needed, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So let me just see. Siddharth, there you are. And
Hey,
Ilya, great to
hey.
see you both. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly,
All
Siddharth?
right. Sure, I can go next.
Okay.
I'm Siddharth Krishnan. I am an assistant professor in computer science and School of Data Science. I also teach applied machine learning, like Mirsad, and network science. Those are two courses we share. And then I have other courses, data mining, and uh, machine learning operations, upcoming new course. So a lot of fun stuff. I'm also going to be helping with the internship course.
Not just helping, it's your
Yes,
baby.
yes.
And the person who is you're taking over from is also smiling on the screen right now. Robert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Robert Fox. And of course, if you have taken an internship with DSBA 6400, I've probably been your facilitator for that class, but not this summer. I'm releasing the baby to Siddharth, so he's going to be taking care of you over the summer. I've been faculty in SDS for over 5 years now. Man, time goes fast. Teaching all sorts of things, database, visual analytics, model risk. My exciting new class is agentic AI, which will be coming in 2026. So look forward to discussing and talking more about the internship option.
Great. And then last but absolutely not least, Dr. Ilyeva Genko, who is going to be talking about one of the new offerings that we just put forth this semester. Do you want to talk about the practicum class and introduce yourself?
Thank you, George. So my name is Ilia Bagenko. I teach at the School of Data Science. As George mentioned, this semester, for the first time, we're offering the DS practicum. I'm going to talk more about that today. I also teach data visualization and predictive modeling.
All right. Why don't we kick off to the next slide? So today, again, we're going to be talking about the different options within the DSBA and the Health Informatics program in terms of capstones. We've got a couple different variations. The nexus point between the two is the internship class, and Dr. Christian and Professor Fox will be talking a little bit more about that. That's going to probably take the lion's share of the conversation today. But we're also got these new exciting practicum courses. Dr. Argenko is going to talk a little bit about the DSBA practicum. I'm going to fill in. I'm going to pretend that I'm Dr. Guh, and I'll be talking about the health informatics practicum, and we'll go from there. Okay. So, Mirsad, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit, kind of from the program director's point of view, the purpose of the practicums?
Right. This program, both the health informatics and analytics and data science and business analytics, are programs that help us understand data, DSBA in general, and HIA with respect to healthcare. When it comes to data, we are swimming and in the data ocean that is getting larger and bigger every day. And we are creating tools that are dealing with a huge volume of data. And some of those tools, like generative AI, ChatGPT, and others, are actually absolutely relying on that huge volume of data. The point of data science program is to understand the whole process from defining the problem. We are talking about a business, defining the problem, helping the manager define the problem, because sometimes it cannot be done because there's no data to support it. Sometimes it can be modified to ask a different question that's even more efficient, more productive for the company. Sometimes we can actually bring the problem to the leadership of the business to basically tell them, here's what the data tells us. Can we look further into it? From that point on, to understand the data that can be brought to bear with the problem at hand, to do the preliminary analysis, massaging the data to come up with indices or of different kind that will help us understand the magnitude of the problem or the solution. To the analysis, to visualization, to data story that needs to be told for people who understand what it is that you are suggesting. The whole process is what this program is about. I'm not saying that we have all the classes that will cover all the complexity of data science, but we have done and we are doing our best. In that context, we have tried to make the whole program applied hands-on, because that is what employers want. Somebody who is ready day one to start with the process of enhancing their operations by understanding data science. It is important to understand both the word data, the importance of data, and the science of processing, both making data available and applicable, and the methods that will be used to process the data to solve the problem. In the end, the capstone, we started with internships only over the years. And it was actually the most exciting and the most important part of the program, simply because everybody loved it. Employers loved the chance to have a year-long program actually to work with students to understand who they are. And a lot of students found jobs through the internship program. And the students have a chance to interview the company and see if that is a company they would like to work for. It is expected to be there full time most of the time. It happens through the summer. There is the number of hours is 120 or something. What's the number of hours, Josh, required for the internship?
160.
160 hours. There's a process that we have to follow, documents to be solved, signed. The faculty is in collaboration, in coordination with the person who is responsible for overseeing the project on the other side. There's a conversation about it. There are expectations. You're not there to make coffee for them, but you are there to explore the data science aspects of the operation of the company. It is, if done well, it is very effective. And as I said, it is the place where you can put into practice everything you learned in this program. And that is the important part. Now, it is sometimes hard to find an internship. It takes time. The school doesn't provide that for you. You need to work on it, to use all the opportunities, working with the advisory board, the um, career dates when the companies come on campus and so on, opportunities that we have, we bring speakers, all of that should be used to get in touch with the companies. Or you can search on your own and send your resumes and look for it. Where we can, we will help, but most of the time it is on you. Sometimes it is harder to do it when the economy is not doing well. Sometimes it's easier to do it when they're looking for employees and they cannot find them. Over the years, both the students and the companies have learned that this is a really great program. However, sometimes it is impossible, or the student is under a different pressure to graduate. And so we have introduced the possibility of a practicum where it's a 3 hour, just a semester-long project where you basically work with the faculty on a topic of interest to both of you. And it is a project led by a specific faculty that you're working on for a semester instead of an internship, and you get 3 hours worth of credit for it. And there is a third option for those who are possibly even thinking about the PhD program in data science or some other area, where you would like to get a taste of research that is being done in data science. And we set aside a 2 course sequence for it, 6 hours, where you will have a committee of three professors led by a faculty you want to work with. It can be student initiated in terms of the topic. It could be professor initiated. And it's expected to, you define the topic, it gets approved, you work on it, and then you report it as a thesis to the committee. Once they approve it, this is it. You get 6 hours for that. That is why this program has a differing number of total required hours based on the option, capstone and practicum option you take at the end. Is it 6 hours, 3 hours, or is it 160 hours that you have to spend on the internship? I'm sure I missed something, Josh, and I'm absolutely certain you will make it more complete.
We've got two good summary slides, and we also have you got your colleagues to jump in as well. Carly, can you go to the next slide? So for this moment, I'm going to pretend like I'm Dr. Guh. We have a quick comparison between the two different options within the health informatics program. You have the practicum 6250, which is a faculty-led, team-based project solving, trying to get a hands-on, as Dr. Hazakadich was mentioning, that hands-on experience of working with, in this case, medical data, clinical data. It's a 3 credit-hour course. The practicums are only offered in the fall or the spring. They're not offered in the summer. That's an important qualification, and we'll come back to that. The project in the practicum is going to come from the faculty member. For the internship, we'll go into more depth in this later on. Again, it's, as Dr. Hazakadich meant, immersive. It's meant to give you that professional experience, that mentoring opportunity. 3 credit hours, 160 contact hours minimum. For the practicum in health informatics, for those of you in the health informatics program, you should be in your last semester if you're planning on taking that course. There are some exceptions, but you should be in your last semester for that course. For the internship, you should have a minimum. Actually, that's incorrect. It should be 12 credit hours is the minimum for the internship, although we recommend being a little farther in the program if you're going to do an internship, so you get through some of those critical classes like machine learning if you're going to take that as well. In the internship, you secure the internship, you identify the project, the company you want to work with, you develop the proposal. We'll talk about that some more. Carly, can you go to the next slide? And so this is a lot of what Dr. Hazakadich talked about. The practicum is a little different. Ilya, do you want to jump in at this point, or do you want to wait till later to talk about
Up to you. Up to you.
Well, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit more about the DSBA practicum, that version of it?
Okay, so as we already know, the practicum we started this year, so we're trying different things. At the moment, this is in lieu of students not having an internship and not taking the 6400. However, we also are emphasizing a setting where the students are placed in teams. It's kind of a consulting type of right environment where you are going to work in different domains. And we actually have three companies that are sponsoring projects. So the students will have the opportunity to work on those domains and get guidance from those companies. At the end, I mean, very similar. They will have to deal with data, develop some modeling. In some cases, it may require, a little bit more interesting development work as a team, and then present learnings and deliverables as well.
Can I just add something, Josh? Um, the when it comes to the internship under the DSBAs, on the DSBA side, um, when we look at a health informatics and analytics, the previous slide, you can there are two large centers here. There is an Atrium Health, a large system, or what's called now Advocate Health, and there's an Avant Health. With the Presbyterian Hospital as a flagship hospital, and on the advocate side, there's the Carolinas Medical Center. Um, Anywhere within it or anywhere within their satellite hospital places, there's a great possibility of finding an opportunity to work with data. And that could be on the clinical side, could be on the administrative side, could be on the IT side. There are so many opportunities where you can find your place. When it comes to DSBA, let's see, when you talk about, it's not just a question of is it a bank or is it a retail, or even within those places, there's a huge difference. Right? So when you look at Lowe's and Bank of America, yes, they're in different businesses that they deal with. But even within a corporation like Bank of America, and Eliava more knows more about it, you can be on the marketing side. You can be on the commercial side thinking about the placement of various outlets, commercial outlets. You can be on the HR side. You can be on the technology side. You can be on the understanding, on the AI side. You can be on the customer facing anything. There are so many opportunities within a large system like Bank of America or like Lowe's or any like Belk, for example, that you have to really think broadly about the possibility for an internship as well as your role of a scientist. It's a good thing to think about where you would like to spend your internship because it is going to inform you in a better way in what the role of a data scientist is in real life.
Thank you, Mirsad. And Dr. Christian, I think we can definitely talk about the Honeywell project if you want to jump in at that one when appropriate.
Yeah, sure. I think apart from the practicum class, I'd also say come and send me an email or come talk to me. We have a projects class for some of the collaborations we're doing with Honeywell. Josh and Mirsad are both aware of it. Uh, Honeywell, as we know, has invested a gift in the university, out of which CCI is receiving some funding. And on that note, my research group has also received some funding, and a part of that uh, gift that I have received for funding is to be used for projects, which could be acting as a segue between academic development and uh, potential talent that can be recruited at Honeywell. Uh, in essence, what they're expecting, and I think this was one of the visions that Mirsad had when introducing the mandatory internship, is at the DSBA program when we're swimming in data ocean that he alludes to, um, we don't have the luxury of graduating entry-level data scientists. We're expected to have mid-level data scientists graduating, which was an unexpected onus, but the way that was translated was through the internship. And and Honeywell wants to facilitate that through this project setting. So I would recommend many of you to take advantage of that as well. Uh, and we can also integrate a few other of these ideas into the practicum uh, course that's being taught.
Just quickly with the slides, actually, if you can go back, Carly, for 1 second. There's a typo. The middle column should be DSBA, just a simple typo. But I just want to mention the thesis option. Sorry, I've caused chaos for you, Carly. The thesis option for students who are in the DSBA. If you have questions about that, I would recommend you follow up with Dr. Hazdakatic or one of us afterwards directly. We'll get more into that later on. But it is, again, for those of you looking for more of a research pathway, that may be something you want to explore. Okay, next one. So again, we've talked about this. There's similarities between the health informatics practicum and the DSBA practicum. 6250 is problem solving in healthcare analytics. This is team-based, hands-on, working with projects that have been defined by the instructor and sometimes by external partners. And you're asked sometimes to do more of an academic paper and sometimes more of a traditional business presentation. It varies semester and semester, but in terms of the focus of it, but you can follow up to find out more with the faculty later on. All right, next. The capstone, anything else, Ilieva, that we should be adding? Or I think you did a pretty good job covering.
Well, to me, one of the important things also is the fact that working as consulting paths, right? Students will learn to deal with ambiguity. And this is very important when you enter the workplace, right? You need to understand that business requirements are not always black and white. You need to understand how to deal with that. That sometimes, or most of the time, the data is not clean. Or to get the data, you need to do a little bit of development, right? So we're trying to simulate all of that. And at the end, of course, it's very important how to present those results. So the practicum also includes storytelling, where at the end, students will have to present either to the sponsors or in this case to the entire class. All the students will have to present, of course, their work to the entire class using more the business, right? Language and the business setting, not only the technical tools that they use during the practical.
Can't say how much those communication skills are so critical with what we do. Thank you, Ilieva. Next. So again, there is information on the website which you can follow up on, which gets into more detail of the actual process of identifying a project, putting together a proposal, figuring out who your committee is, and that's on the DSBA website under the capstone. We will share this deck with the links afterwards. Next.
Yeah, and then just real quick, just to add, for any of these that we're talking about today from an advising perspective, you are not able to just go in and sign up for the course. And we'll talk more about that. As you can tell from what we've already talked about, there's a lot of different either procedures or steps or parts of the process that you have to follow. And so we will talk more about that, but keep that in mind as we get closer to registration, that each of these have various ways that you go about getting enrolled. It's not simply a matter of just signing up.
Thank you, Carly. Okay. So this one is Professor Fox, Professor Krishnan, who wants to, we're going to focus more now on the internship into the heart of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm happy to get us kicked off, and Dr. Krishnan, please pipe in. But the idea, of course, with the internship is to use all the skills that you've developed in your program. And so there's a basic amount of hours. We expect you to take this near the end of your degree. And the idea is to put your skills, your data science skills into practice at an organization, at an internship. And so we've already had some discussion about this, but this is a great idea because it gives you an opportunity to try out the company, get familiar with the company, you put your skills to work, start networking, et cetera. And so it's a very, hopefully, a valuable experience for you as someone who's completing your degree in order to, put yourself out there. So this internship is not something that's assigned to you. You do have to find the internship, and we're going to talk in subsequent slides about how you can find that internship opportunity. So if you are interested in taking DSBA 6400, keep that in the front of your mind. This is not something where you just sign up for the course and you get assigned to a company. This is more along the lines of you finding that opportunity. And so we'll talk about that. So you have to have a certain number of hours for DSBA. That's an 18-hour limit or minimum. HIA 12 hours. We make exceptions in some cases, but generally speaking, we'd like you to take this internship opportunity after you've had some skills, developed in some of the coursework. You will have at your company that you're interning with, once you find, usually you have a person, right, who is your connection to that company. Sometimes that person will be your mentor inside the company, but sometimes they're just your connection to the company, right? But somewhere inside the company, you're going to have a mentor or preceptor, and this is the person who is going to work with you, oversee your internship, and guide you along the way, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about mentorship, but generally speaking, a mentor could be someone who knows about data science, or it could be somebody who doesn't know about data science. It's not necessarily their job to mentor you on data science. Their job is really to help you understand how the company produces value and how your data science skills could be potentially valuable to the company. And so you have mentors of all types, right? Some of them that are going to be more knowledgeable about data science and some that will be less knowledgeable. That doesn't really matter, right? So at the end of the day, it's your job to, bring your skills to bear in that internship. And so the way the process works, as Carly had mentioned earlier, you will have to have a proposal put forward where you've established a connection with a company. You made a connection with someone who's a mentor. And then you've started this process of saying, okay, this is generally what the work is going to be. And when we look at those proposals, we're primarily looking to make sure that you have some data science work within that project proposal. So the minimum requirement is 160 hours working in the internship. Obviously, with any internship, there's going to be a certain amount of grunt work involved, whether that's data management or stuff, the data collection, things that might not be exactly data science. That's fine. But some good portion of that work needs to be meaningful data science work. So it's not enough to, build a dashboard, right? We need to see something that's a little bit more than computer science in these internships. It does have to deal with data, obviously, because this is a data science degree. And that's one of the big requirements as well. So we'll talk through, and you can always ask questions if you have questions about what qualifies as a good internship. Next slide, please. All right. So where do you find an internship? Well, there's a lot of companies in Charlotte. We're lucky enough to have a pretty vibrant ecosystem of companies here that are, economically, they are looking for data science skills. You are in demand. And the list of companies is growing in terms of the ones that are looking for this skill set. So regardless of what industry you're in, it doesn't really matter from an internship perspective. It doesn't have to be a bank. It can be any type of company. For even HIA, it doesn't have to be a hospital system, right? It could be something else as well. So keep your horizons broad in terms of the types of companies that you're thinking about. As mentioned earlier, ideally, maybe you're interested in a certain industry or a certain type of business. This might be a good opportunity for you to, branch out and get some exposure to some of those companies that you want to get exposure to. Um, Next slide, please. And please, anybody jump in if you need to, if you have more thoughts to add. So I'm hoping that others are jumping in when needed. All right, all right, for health informatics, generally speaking, there could be lots of different types of projects that you take on. So in the absence of Dr. Ge, we'll talk about, what are these processes for HIA? They could be anything dealing with healthcare and medical data or systems. Sometimes you're going to find that the systems that they have will require some additional work, analyzing, visualizing data, manipulating data for the benefit of the entity, right? Whether that's a corporation or an organization or what have you. So there are a pretty wide range of possible projects. And long story short, don't limit your search because you think the project has to be a certain type of thing. If you ever have a question about whether or not something fits as a HIA internship or a DSPA internship, I would prefer to have that conversation as we mentioned earlier. Also, Dr. Krishnan will be available as well during the summer to help you sort of vet these opportunities out to make sure that they're a good fit for getting credit for 6,400. So it's worth noting, right, that you can do an internship and not register for 6,400, right? That's always an option. But if you're going to go through all that trouble to get an internship, it makes sense for you probably to get credit for it if you can, right, through either HCIP or DSPA 6,400.
I would also just throw in quickly, there are a lot of companies here that you may not recognize as having a health informatics expertise, but for example, Lowe's has a health informatics unit that helps with their in-house insurance. We've seen Lilly just expand recently. They've opened up a major production facility here in Concord in the area, and there are all kinds of these companies that are sprinkled across Charlotte and the region who are working in health-related analytics. I think somebody mentioned earlier Premier, which is another major company, national company based in Ballantyne, but other options like that.
Yeah, we've had a couple of graduates go to Premier, and I think they are loving their jobs. So, yeah. So, next slide, please. We'll talk about the types of projects in the DSBA program. Again, very similar in terms of the general message, right? The project could be any number of things. We're looking for the DSBA program specifically because the curriculum is a little bit more rigorous with regards to data science. We are looking for a little bit of a notch harder in terms of data science work in the DSBA internship. So while you might get away with some, visualization of data in the healthcare space or dashboard building in the healthcare space, if you're an HCIP 6,400 student, you might need something a little bit more than a Tableau dashboard, right? If you're talking about the DSBA program. So we're looking for things. It doesn't have to be a predictive model, but if you have a predictive model, that's great. Advanced statistics, advanced data science techniques, clustering, right? We're looking for something where you're showing off some of the skill sets that you've learned through your program. And once again, the general guidance is if you ever have a question about that or need help figuring that out, I like people to reach out to me and, we can maybe figure out how do we incorporate data science into your internship. And oftentimes your mentor will be someone who will help you, talk through that situation. But other times you might need to have your own creativity to make a suggestion to say, hey, what if I created a forecasting model, to help us predict something? That might be something that your organization has not considered before, right? So in some cases, your creativity and capabilities as a data science will have to be brought to bear to carve out these opportunities. This can be especially true if you're already working full time and you're trying to take the internship at your existing company, right? So that is an option as well. Many of us have full-time jobs, and so If you're one of those people who has the ability to have a separate internship inside your own company, that is a path that some students will take. Obviously, it's hard because you're going to be taking on yet another responsibility, a lot more work in addition to your day job. But it will often give you an opportunity to reach out to another department or have a mentor that's in another department. And in a perfect world, your company is supportive of that. They're supportive of your degree and maybe even supportive of you moving to another team once you've become more of a data scientist versus what you are today. All right, so let's move on to the next slide here. I think we're talking about finding an internship. Okay, so I like the title of this slide. It starts on day one. You don't want to wait until the last year of your program to say, okay, time to start looking for an internship because it takes time and it takes effort. It's going to potentially take a lot of networking. Something that Director Hertel mentioned, like a quote that sort of stuck in my head, which is, it's a lot of work. It's kind of like finding a job, finding an internship and finding a job require the same kind of networking effort. And it's kind of like a muscle that you need to exercise, right? So it's hard to find an internship, but it's often worthwhile, and you will build the same skill set that you need when you're looking for a job as well. So lots of potential places to look, right? We have opportunities and events here on campus. If you read the School of Data Science newsletter, you'll find that there's always something going on, right? There's seminars, there's meetings, there's conferences. We have, even job fairs types of things, right? You might not think a job fair is a good place to find an internship, but you might be surprised, right? That could be a place that you could potentially snag an internship. So do your networking, participate in events, put yourself out there. That's going to be your primary, ticket to finding a good internship. The other aspect of this, which is kind of nice, and you see this on the slide here, is that as you go through your program, if you're just starting out, think about building yourself and then also building a portfolio. So you're building as someone who's potentially has limited past experience in data science. You're building up your resume, and so making sure that you are keeping track of those skills that you're developing and putting those things on your resume. But then also potentially building a portfolio is a good idea. And in some of the classes, I know in visual analytics, we talk about this. We'll talk about, maybe even make like a GitHub site that shows your projects that you've worked on, or, has a clean version of some of the data science work that you've developed. I think if you are at that second or third round of interviews, you're going to get someone who's more interested in your capabilities and what you can, if you can display or show what you can do. I know that when I used to be a hiring manager, I'd always be very interested in those types of things, right? So it shows that your passion, it shows your capability if you have things that you can develop in addition to your resume. So keep in mind with that, LinkedIn, social media, all of that stuff is relevant. And continue to do your best as early as possible to make these connections. And I know I've certainly left some things out. Director Hertel or
Yeah.
Dr. Krishnan, would you like to add?
Let me just throw this in quickly. I think the point that Dr. Krishnan made earlier about expectations for graduate students in terms of where they're coming in the field, the expectation is there's more experience, there's more seasoning that's going on, and that may not be entirely fair, but I think it's a realistic statement. And so one of the things it's good news and it's bad news. The good news is you have the opportunity to enter organizations at a higher level with more responsibility. Bad news is, unlike undergraduates, where there's a lot of early career, early talent programs that have very kind of soft entry levels, they kind of bring you in nice and easy in terms of expectations and learning the culture of the organization, and then moving into specific project responsibilities. That can be kind of a slow process, and it doesn't necessarily start you at a salary that might be what you're hoping for. Whereas with the graduate program, you have that opportunity, but you've got to be out there and engaged and talking to them and sharing what you can do, showing yourself value. Oftentimes, the internships for our graduate students come not because they were posted on a website, but because you showed up and you showed an aptitude that fit a need, and they create a project specifically for you to bring you into the organization. So it's another way to kind of think about this strategy. It is critical, though, that you are present, that you are showing up, that you are having conversations, you're asking questions, you're showing your curiosity as much as your creativity. And so, again, can't stress enough any of these events where if you see a company that's going to be in the room that you're interested in, you need to be there. You need to be introducing yourself, starting a conversation. What's it like to be a data science in your organization, data scientist in your organization? What are the challenges? What really makes you excited? Those kinds of things that open up broader conversations and get you recognized and get you opportunities.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so the next slide is also about getting started and where to go, what to potentially hook into. There are on campus lots of resume workshops. We've got Hire Niner, career fairs, as I mentioned earlier. But that first bullet often goes overlooked. So the School of Data Science newsletter potentially has a lot of information in it, a lot of opportunities. We do a good job of tracking when companies are here, what those events are, if there's seminars that are happening in the Dubois Center. All of those events will be there, and so keep an eye on that. Don't just see the newsletter and let it go by. Make sure you're scanning it and for those opportunities. Also within the broader CCI, we have lots of opportunities, of course, and different business partners that work with us. So professional organizations, clubs, company career sites, LinkedIn, etc. Keep your eyes open for any opportunities there. And I think that's it. I don't have any other advice. If anyone can think of anything, let me know. We'll make sure we incorporate that. But where do we get started, right? So, of course, HIA and DSBA both have their own websites. The websites are fantastic and great sources of information. You can read about the programs, of course, and all of the capstone options that we've talked about today in detail are there. So we need to have, a good, clear understanding of your path as you get closer to your graduation date. This is something that you should be thinking about and have a plan for, whether that's going to be taking part of the practicum, finding an internship, or going more academic and doing a 2-semester research project with a professor. All of those are great ways to end your degree here at the School of Data Science. What else? All right, I think next slide, please. All right. So what does this timeline look like? Generally speaking, we need to get a proposal. This is a timeline specifically for the internship, right? But all options, all capstone options are going to have some requirements that you take or some timeline, right, involved with this. But specifically for the internship, we're looking for a minimum of a proposal submitted 2 weeks ahead of time. And if you're HCIP, it should really be more like 4 weeks, because with the healthcare internships, there's additional paperwork and administrative processing that we need to perform when you're dealing with healthcare data. And specifically, you as someone in your internship might need insurance. And insurance is something that the university will provide for you, right? And so because of all that process, we strongly recommend that the HCIP students submit their proposals as early as possible. So that's the process is you find your internship in advance of the term that you're interested in. DSBA and HCIP 6400 are offered in every single semester, right? They're offered, so that is an option to you, regardless of what time of the year your internship works in. And so what we recommend is that you take the internship class on the semester in which your internship is ending, right? So hypothetically, let's say we had an internship for someone that started in December, right in the end of the fall semester. They wouldn't want to register for DSBA 6400 in the fall because their internship probably ends in, let's say, March. They would register for DSBA 6400 in the spring, right? So think about the timing of your internship and which semester you need to be enrolled in. in advance of that enrollment date, or as soon as you know about the opportunity. You want to be thinking about your proposal, putting your proposal together. That proposal form is a Google form that you can find once again on the internship webpage, right? The Capstone webpage. So it's easy to find if you're looking for it, but keep in mind that that proposal needs to happen first. I or Dr. Krishnan will be reviewing proposals, and when we look at those proposals, we're going to make sure that you're meeting some of the minimum requirements for a number of hours in the program, as well as understanding the general gist of your internship to make sure that it meets the needs from a content standpoint. And so I'm looking for a significant amount of data science work being in your internship. And when I talk about 6400, I usually tell students that there's two pillars to success in the internship. One is that you need to have that data science work and that 160 hours as part of the actual work that you're doing, and it has to be good data science work. The other pillar there is understanding how that data science work helps your organization. And it's not always, that you made the company a bunch of money. That's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to show the connection between data science and value. So whether that value is revenue saved or cost saved or increased productivity, it doesn't necessarily even matter. Better patient outcomes, right? So the goal of your internship could be varied. You don't need to, quote unquote, put something into production for that to, count. But you need to show that you need to understand and demonstrate and communicate how that data science work could potentially benefit the organization, right? So as you think about the success factors in the internship, we're really looking for your ability to do data science work and then show that connection to value. All right, so there's paperwork involved with the proposal process. And so especially in the HCIP program, there's going to be different requirements potentially. As I mentioned before, you're going to have a mentor within your organization. That mentor will be on your proposal form. And during the semester, I or Dr. Krishnan will be reaching out to your mentors at the beginning, at the end of your internship. Okay, of course, we have drop add deadlines, payment deadlines. You can't actually enroll in any of the capstone options until you've been approved, right? So make sure you're following the correct proposal process for your capstone and that you understand these timelines so that you don't end up, right against the wire in terms of timing. And you can't understand why you can't register, right? So be aware of the process and read up on the requirements. Next slide, please. Okay, so the internship class itself is not a normal class. It's actually, you don't show up. There's no physical meeting times. But once you've gotten an internship, you obviously work with the company that you're interning with. And you're, assuming that you have identified that opportunity, you've got your proposal accepted. I or Dr. Krishnan would approve your proposal. And then once you're enrolled, we have some, Canvas site where you'll, log in and look at some of the material there, including the syllabus. But there's no regular meeting times. And so either I or Dr. Krishnan will be facilitators to help you with questions. During the semester, there are some deliverables. The deliverables include initially a project plan that you'll develop. So about 2 weeks into your internship, we're asking you to basically fill out a project plan where you make tasks and understand what the flow is of your time there with the company. Throughout the semester, then there are 5 progress reports that you'll submit that basically give little updates, little one-page updates about like where you are, what you've done, what you've accomplished. It's okay for internships to take a turn, right? That happens in companies in general, right? So you may start out with one plan in one direction. Your internship may take the whole organization may decide they need to shift or do something different. As long as you're preserving your ability to do data science work, then you should be fine. But progress reports are part of the intern process. And if you ever have questions or concerns, you can reach out to me or Dr. Krishnan as facilitators of the course. Then at the end of the semester, you will have a final presentation that you have to give and a final paper that you will have to write and submit. And so those are the big deliverables for 6400. The presentation is over Zoom. So again, everything is virtual and online. Makes it easy, and it usually happens in the evening, right? So that's the big thing for your key deliverables in 6400 are those end of semester final reports and final presentations. What else? Did I leave anything out? I think that's it. All right. So after your internship, we'll send an evaluation form to your mentor. So be aware of that. And you'll have an opportunity to think through your experience with that particular company as well. Again, all this is kind of happening over Google form. So I know that was a lot of information. We've covered a lot of ground here. We have just a little bit of time, so I think it probably makes sense to relinquish some of this time for questions. Does anyone have any questions about anything?
Hey, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Evan. I just got a quick question on the practicum that we have, and I think you mentioned it's only for spring and fall. Does the schedule for that is that during only during from office hours? Is that night classes as well, or is it only offered during the mornings?
Well, it depends. At this moment, I am teaching that class during the day from 12:30 to 2:30, let's say it that way. But not to the point of the internship class, but they are also, this is a hybrid class since the students are working on real problems and we have also some sponsors. We don't meet in person every week, so there is flexibility, of course, those weeks that we don't meet to work as part of your path, right? On developing the solutions. I don't know if that's what you were trying to get, but
Yeah, sort of, because I was wondering because I do work full time. If I do decide to do the practicum path, just trying to see
I
how
see.
I could accommodate that schedule, maybe take a time off, or like time off at work to attend if it's a once a week thing or if it's only a few hours.
Yeah, if you want to know, right now in the class, there are multiple students that work full time because the class, when we meet, is at the DUA Center, they take time, and actually, the lunch time works well for them. So, in their cases, several students have told me they ask for time at work, and, they were successful doing that.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about anything? All right. Well, you can always reach out to either me or Dr. Krishnan. I think for now you can email both of us, right? If you have a question, one of us will definitely get to you or get back to you. And hopefully all of you are, in a good spot and thinking about this as an option for you. I'm encouraging everyone to do internships. Capstone option is the practicum is also a great new option. And that's it. I don't have any other information for you. So if you have no questions, Josh, is there anything else that we should cover?
Just for health informatics students, if you have questions, we can connect you with Dr. Guy. You can certainly reach out directly to me as you have questions about your options and search. We're all here to support you in however we can. If you have questions about the thesis, Dr. Haustakovich. If you have questions about the DSBA practicum, Dr. Agenko, those would be your options. And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.